Hey, welcome everybody. I'm Chris Charbonneau, Associate Publisher for FishTalk magazine. Thank you very much for tuning in and joining us on this lovely, sunny, however, slightly chilly day. I'm glad you're out here and really happy that you are able to join us today for another Live with Lenny. And before we bring Lenny in here, I do want to just do a quick shout out to our sponsors for today's episode. Anglers Resource and Tideline Boats. Both of these are great advertisers of ours. We obviously can't do these this type of programming or anything in the print edition or online with our websites without the support of our advertisers. So really appreciate them getting behind us on this Live with Lenny. And if you would, please check out the online edition. We've got the brand new issue is up now. It's out in digital, and we're going to be trying to get the physical copies to you as soon as we can do that. But we wanted to also just invite you to go to fishtalkmag.com and check out that digital issue. Click on it all you want, go visit all the ads, all of our advertisers. But that's really the best way that you can help support us from our audience perspective. So without further ado, I am going to get our illustrious angler-in-chief in here, and I hope he can join us. Hey, Lenny.
Hello, Chris. How are you today? Hey, everybody.
Entry.
Welcome to Live with Lenny. Sorry, we're just trying to keep it interesting here. You know, it's we're on like week 42, I think, of this stay-at-home thing, and it's getting tougher and tougher by the day. But the good news is, in the state of Maryland, a lot of the restrictions have just been lifted on boating and fishing. Of course, we could fish for subsistence before. That was great. A lot of people were kind of upset they couldn't catch and release. Now it's all fair game. You can get on your boat. You can go fishing. No hassles, no worries. Gotta love it.
Yes, you don't have those darn sailboats with those fishing poles on the sides.
We saw a few of them opening day of rockfish season. Believe me, there were some sailboats with rods up, and a lot of sea ray sun dancer type boats that mysteriously became fishing boats, fishing for subsistence. But you know, hey, everybody's dying to get out and feel a little sunshine.
Yeah, everybody, making sure they just get the use the rules to their advantage.
Yeah. Well, you can't blame anybody. And the good news is it's been a heck of a rockfish opener. It really has, the best in several years. And we're going to dive right into that. But first, Chris, I'm going to ask you to put up slide number A.
Easily. I'm going to disappear.
Uh-oh. Oh, sorry about that, dude. I want to get up slide A because I do want to mention this. You know, of course, folks, we got to talk about our sponsors a little bit. They are the ones who keep us on the air. We got to make sure that, you know, we support them in the same way that they support us. And the thing about Anglers Resources, they got all kinds of rod building components, but the biggie here we're talking about is the Fuji guides. And I learned a long time ago, sometimes you'll have an old fishing rod and it just seems like the line breaks all the time for no good reason. I'm sure you've been there, right? That's an old guide. That's a guide that got a little chip or a burr or something on the liner. And that happens with cheap guides over time. So whether you're building your own rod or you're buying a new fishing rod, look for those Fuji guides. This is an important thing. They are built to last forever, basically. I hope I don't get in trouble for saying that. But I got some rods behind me right back there that are over 20 years old that have the Fujis on them. They do the trick as far as longevity goes. And the other nice thing is on top of that, they dissipate heat very well. And the name of the game with a guide is being able to dissipate heat. If you have heat built up in a guide that has a poor liner, it weakens the line as it travels through that guide, and then you get a break off. So anyway, that's number one. The other one I wanted to talk about, this goes great with our topic today. Chris, go ahead to slide number B. Tide line. So anybody who's read my stuff through the years probably knows I'm a big cat fan. I have a cat. I've owned multiple cats through the years. Simple bottom line equation. I got a bad back. It hurts when a boat hits waves. cats mitigate a lot of that shock. They do a very good job of smoothing out the ride. And I hope the Tide Lines guys aren't upset that I didn't put up their big boat one here. They have a 36-footer that is just flat out gorgeous. But I wanted to put up the 23 because this is a kind of boat that's near and dear to my heart. You can use it inshore, and the next day you can run that sucker offshore just as far as you want. You can head for the canyons. It is not a problem. It can totally take it. And all I'm going to say is, if you're looking for a boat in the 22 to 25 foot range, it would benefit you to take a look at the Tideline 235, which, by the way, a boat like that, a cat, since it carries its beam all the way forward, is going to have just as much room as your average 25, 26-foot monohull. Anyone who's fished with me on my boat knows that's true. That beam goes all the way forward. You get a huge, huge foredeck to cast from. All right, enough said. Let's put up the first rockfish slide. Like I said, it's been a great opener. This here's Kevin. He runs out of the Magathy. Beautiful fish. Chris, just keep clicking on through them. Let's go to the next one here. We got Dale and Dan. This is on the Heat Wave. Obviously, monster fish. That's one out of maybe 3 or 4 pictures those guys have sent me this week. They're out of Edgewater, Maryland. Go ahead, flip through the next. This is on the Big Worm. And I see a couple beautiful fish. This was, I believe, the day after opening day. He's running out of deal. Let's flip to the next one. Don't worry, there is a rhyme and reason to this. This is Bob. He is out of Edgewater. Bob's one of our delivery guys, and he had a great day. Got a couple beautiful fish just the other day. Go ahead to the next one, please, Chris. And, oh my, who's that? I forgot. Oh, that's Arnold. This is fishing out of Salmons. Okay, now, the reason that I wanted to fly through those was because you heard me go Upper Bay, Middle Bay, Middle Bay, Middle Bay, Middle Bay, Lower Bay. Or at least getting down south. The truth of the matter is, a lot of the good reports I've been getting have been, we've heard a little bit from Love Point. We've heard a lot from Bloody Point. A lot from Bloody Point this past week. We've heard a lot from Deal, and we've heard a lot from Chesapeake Beach. Those have all been really, really hot areas. We've heard of some down Point Lookout Way. We heard from the Kingfisher 2, which runs out of Chrisfield. They had some good days, but there have been an awful lot of good reports, basically from the Bloody Point zone down to the Chesapeake Beach zone. Now, of course, this changes. These slugs of fish move through. They don't sit still. You know, this weekend, it looks like Saturday's going to be a really rough day. It's supposed to really blow. But Sunday, it looks like we can all get out. And, you know, they may have shifted farther south by then. They may not have. The Love Point fish may be down towards, you know, the Bay Bridge or down towards Thomas. It's really hard to say. But as you think about where you're going to go fishing, those have been the zones that have really been producing. I got at least 3 emails in the last couple of hours of people who kind of cut out from work early today, or I guess maybe just left the house early, and caught fish in this same vicinity. Bloody Point, off the mouth of the west, and off the mouth of the west. So there's some really good fish out there. Chris, could you flip to the next slide, please? One other thing I want to mention. As expected, it's been umbrellas, it's been tandems, it's been whites and chartreuses. But I wanted to put up this picture here from the Big Worm, because this Kevin Drew knows what he's doing when it comes to trolling up these rockfish. And you can see it's a cloudy day, right? It's a really dim day. Look at what he put on those rods. You got purples on there, your dark purples. The one time you want to change it up from that white chartreuse, white chartreuse, white chartreuse is when you get really low light, really cloudy days, really early, really late. Put out some blacks, some purples, some dark brown, that kind of stuff, the dark reds. Those colors can really be productive in those kinds of conditions. Chris, let's flip over to the next slide now. I threw this one in here in case any of you Virginia Beach guys are watching, or folks down towards Cape Charles. This came into us last weekend from, this was Brian. And obviously that is one beautiful redfish. He was fishing alone, and he said the coolest thing that was so spectacular was hooking this fish, reeling it in, and then netting it single-handed. Was just a total blast. He said it was 1 for 2. He had another one on, got it up to the boat, and broke off. So there's some big redfish down there on the shoals right now. We've been hearing about some blacks, not as many. I think more reds than blacks. And it's been crab baits that have been doing the trick. You guys also want to bear in mind, tautog season is about to end, and they are all over the CBBT. They have been. They've been at the islands. They've been at the cement ships. Sand fleas have been what I've been hearing is the good bait lately. So you might want to bring some sand fleas and get in on that bite. And also, there are more puppies plus specks in the inlets. So if you want to fish those inlets down around Virginia Beach, you can get in there, throw some soft plastics, throw some mirror lures. We've been hearing a lot about the mirror lures doing the trick. That's a good bet for you guys. But today, what we're going to lead into now is flounder fishing, because there is a flounder bite going off. It's been going off for a couple of weeks, should remain good for a couple of weeks. And this right here is a view from Wachapreague. And I'm using Wachapreague as our example for two reasons. The main reason is not that it's the best flounder fishing in the world. It is darn good, yes. But, you know, you go down to Quimby, you go down to Chincoteague, those areas are, you know, pretty much just as good as Wachapreague. Wachapreague is just a little better known. And Ocean City actually has surprisingly good flounder fishing at this time of year before the big hordes of boats start floating through the bay. So you can apply this kind of area here that we're going to talk about in a minute to all those different spots. Chris, go ahead and flip me over to the next slide here. This is a really, really important one, and I pulled this out of an article at fishtalkmag.com. Okay, if you think you missed anything here, you might want to go look at it anyway. It's called Wachapreague Wonderland. If you just plug Wachapreague into the search box, it'll pop right up. And what you're looking at here, this is Green and Drawing Channels, which is probably one of the best known areas on the east coast to flounder fish. I mean, a lot of people go there to flounder fish. The light blue is the channels. Where it gets to dark blue is where you get into the really deep channels. And if you go down here, you'll see boats drifting through these channels constantly, over and over and over again. Two things about that. First thing is, the flounder are not laying on the bottom in the middle of the channel. Okay, they're not. They're laying on the edges. They're laying on the drop-offs. So what you want to do is you want to position your boat in 5-6 feet of water, drift it down, and if you got a 25-foot channel, as soon as you hit 25 feet and the depth stops changing, pick it up and move. Get back on that edge. Even if that means you only get a 3-minute drift. You do that, you'll catch a lot more fish. Now, here's the other important thing. You only want to be doing that on a low or a dropping tide. Okay? That's when you want to be working those channels. And that's what these white arrows are all about. Any area like this, where you've got shallow flats that are adjacent to the channels, when the tide is incoming and high, get up on those flats. And it's kind of amazing, folks, because there will be days, a lot of days, where on a good flood tide, you'll catch most of your fish in like 2 to 3 feet of water, sometimes even less. Those flounder will move very, very, very shallow. So play the tide, move around, never do a drift consistently over the same depth over and over again. Look for those changes. Think shallow on the high tide, think deep on the low tide. Chris, go ahead and flip me to the next one here, would you? By the way, I'm just going to stop for a second before talking about this slide, because I forgot to say early on, if anybody has any questions at any time, plug them right in to the comments on Facebook, and Chris will blow them up, get them on screen, and we're happy to answer questions. We love it. That's why we do this live instead of pre-recording some kind of video. It allows us to talk with you all, so please, by all means, do that. Also, last time I did a little test, and I shook a lure off screen and said, anyone who emails me and has the right kind of lure, I'll send it to you. And I'm not going to do that this week because I got like 30 emails in like 5 minutes. And somebody guessed it was a Stillwater Smack It, in case you're wondering. Somebody guessed like that, like the third email nailed it. A lot of guys said rattle trap, close. What I am going to do today is I'm going to hold up a lure, okay? And I'm going to commit to you right now, the first person who walks up to me at one of the winter tackle shows or at a boat show where I have my books, the first person that walks up to me and says that was a blank, I'm going to give them a free copy of Rudow's Guide to Mistakes Anglers Make. Okay? Now here comes the lure. You ready? I got to cover up the name. It's not a widely known lure, but it is a beautiful lure. That was a treble. I swap out the hooks on these for singles. Who knows what that lure is? And I'm going to tell you, if you know, you already know, that these things are awesome topwater lures. They really work well. They're cedar, not plastic, and they just float different and they move different. Okay, now let's get on to the next one here. Oh, and nobody give away what that is, okay? Because otherwise everyone's going to walk up to me at the show and be like, I want a book. All right, first person is going to get a free one. I'm telling you. All right, so here's your tide chart. Before any flounder trip on the coast, I'm pulling one of these up. I'm looking at it so that I have in my head a point of reference. I know that in the early morning hours, I'm going to have a falling tide. I'm going to be looking at those channels until noon, mid-afternoon, and then as the tide's coming up, I'm going to be heading over to those shallows. It's important research to pull those tides before you go out there. Sure, you can tell if it's falling or not otherwise once you're fishing, but at the same time, you know, you don't have a really good grasp of just when it's going to turn, when it's going to change, how long it's going to be going, just how high is it, just how low is it. Look at the chart, you got no wonders. All right, next one, Chris. And as we move to the next slide, what's the next slide? Oh yeah, that one. This is going to show you my very favorite flounder lure. It's very simple. This is a 5-inch chartreuse gulp jerk shad. That looks like it's on a pretty big head. That means I was probably fishing fairly deep water. Head size totally depends on the depth of the water. I like to use a 1/2 ounce when I'm in the shallows. I might go all the way up to a whole ounce, maybe even 1.5 ounces when they're in deeper water. Usually once you get down to 25, 28 feet, that's about as deep as you want to try for these fish. But that 5-inch gulp is a total killer. Now I want you to notice, if you look along the fish's gills, you can see right there I got braid line. Okay, that's braid line on there. I'm going to go right back to those Fuji guides, and I'm going to mention one more time. If you got crappy guides, you're going to be casting one day and your line's just going to snap, and then you're going to cast another day and your line's just going to snap. You're going to be like, well, what's going on? I'm telling you right now, when that happens, set that rod aside. You can't use it again until you find that bad guide. The way you do that is you take a pair of pantyhose, you pull it through the guides, and it'll usually catch on the burr. You might want to do it in both directions, right? So that whichever direction the burr goes in, you catch it. But watch out for that, especially with the braid. The braid is not terribly abrasion resistant. All right, Chris, let's go to the next slide. Let's look at another flounder offering here. All right, so here we have a lure that basically falls into the catch-all category of fluke killer, right? This one has a little float. A lot of them have beads and spinners. It's followed by a skirt, then the hook. This is generally going to be baited with a minnow. Or in some cases, go ahead to the next one, Chris, you use what we lovingly call the squid minnow sandwich. And if you look closely at the minnow there, you can see he's got this white thing behind him. That's a strip of squid. I found this picture on my computer. It was from a day we were fishing on someone else's boat, and I thought it was kind of funny because that's actually not how I do it. I reverse it. I have the squid on the bottom and the minnow on the top. Does it really make a huge difference? I honestly can't tell you because I've never tried side by side with both and really put it to the test. But in any case, that minnow and squid is a good bait for the fluke killer. When you're using this rig, it's very different than using a jig. With a jig, the moment you feel a hit, you set the hook. When you're using the minnow and the squid, you're going to feel a jiggle, 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 and you're going to want to set the hook. Don't do it, okay? Set the hook. When you feel that jiggle, 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 you will pull the minnow and the squid away from the fish every time. Because a lot of times what these flounders do is they swim up behind the lure or the bait, they grab it about halfway and they chew on it, and they don't have it all the way in their mouth yet. When they get that minnow and the squid all the way in their mouth, you'll feel a thump, thump, thump. That's when you set the hook. That's the fish swimming away. He's got his meal. He's done. So jiggle, jiggle, don't set. Thump, thump, set. And again, with the jig, immediately give it a good hard hook set. If you miss, immediately drop it right back down, because more than half the time, if that flounder didn't get any metal in his mouth, all he felt was that soft tail, he'll come back and slap at it again. Often he'll slap it 3-4 times until you hook him. All right, next slide, Chris. All right, so this is another one of my magnificent pieces of artwork. And what you see here is, oh boy, I'm kind of crowding it. Yeah, there we go. This is a rudimentary fluke killer. You see the spinner blade on the right. You got the skirt. You got the hook. What I wanted to show you here was, you see, this is a 5-inch gulp swimming mullet. is what they call that one. It looks really stupid when you put it on a fluke killer like this, and for whatever reason, it is highly effective. You don't run the hook all the way back like you would with a jig head. You just put it right through the front and just drag that thing along, and for whatever reason, flounder love it. I don't know why. It looks like the silliest rig in the world, and it'll never work. And somebody showed it to me, and I was like, that's never going to work. And they caught 3 fish to my none, and I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a try, and then I started catching fish. Highly effective at the inshore wrecks in the summertime. When you start catching more flounder 5, 6, 8, 12 miles out at the wreck and reef sites, that right there, that's what you really want to have. It works in the bayside too, but that's what you really want to have when they're out at the wrecks. All right. Well, do we have any questions at this point? I can't believe we've got no questions up till now. Is that really right? Holy mackerel. Oh, I see one here. What happened, Chris? I see.
I want to interrupt you, Lenny. You're going so strong there. So anyway, let me just get rid of this slide. But we do have a couple of questions.
Yeah. Pop them up there. Hey, man, you can interrupt me anytime.
There we go. Dan's got a good question.
All right, I'm trolling umbrellas. Do I need weight added on top of what the trailing lure has? So the answer is yes, no, maybe. A lot of the time, a lot of guys just run their umbrellas straight, and often they work great like that. Sometimes it's more effective if you put on 6, 8, 10, 12 ounces and get them down there a little bit. The only way to really know on any given day is to try it in multiple different methods. And you know, I don't know how big your boat is, how many lines you're running. Hopefully you can have, you know, say 4 umbrellas, 6 umbrellas going at a time. And I would run 2 of them clean, and then I'd put maybe, you know, 8 ounces on one and 12 ounces on the other, and run them like that and see what catches. And if one of them starts catching, you know, switch the others up, make a match. But you'll see it done different ways on different boats. You'll see it vary quite a bit. And bottom line, the answer is yes, no, maybe. It all depends. How's that for a straightforward answer? God dang it. Any report on the Potomac? Pete, yes, we heard a little bit of action from the Potomac. Not a lot. Not like, you know, a lot of rockfish seasons at this time of year. You hear a lot more from down there than you do from up in the Middle Bay. We heard a little bit. I think I got 2 separate reports of single fish, and I think the Tackle Box put out a report right after last weekend that there were some caught. So there definitely are some fish down there, not as hot as you might normally expect. It really, the Middle Bay has really just been rocking this past week. It really has. I will say this, the reports of big blue cats are just constant coming out of there. They're consistent. I don't know how many emails I get a day of, hey, I caught 6 blue cats. I caught a blue cat 30 pounds. Very consistent. The Potomac, the Rappahannock, a lot farther north this year too. Last weekend, a lot of guys who tried bait fishing. In fact, everybody that I know who attempted to bait fish for rock, this includes me, myself included, since the opener, has not caught rockfish and has caught catfish. And we caught a nice blue cat, good blue cat, at Thomas Point. I think it was last Sunday. And Thomas Point, that's pretty far south and out in the middle of the bay to be catching blue cats, but they're there. So, all right, we got any other questions, Chris?
Yeah, we got one.
Quickly, do you set the hook when using a 5-inch gulp for flounder? Les, the very instant you feel anything unusual, bam, you want to whack that fish. They grab that gulp. They normally have it where the hook is. They normally do. And like I say, if it pulls free, drop it right back down. A lot of times when you're in deeper water and you're jigging that gulp vertically, as opposed to being up in the shallow flats and casting it out and bouncing it along the bottom, right? A lot of times when you're jigging vertically, what happens is you let it down, you hit bottom, you jerk it up. You let it down, you hit bottom, you jerk it up. You let it down, oh, you hook bottom. That's what it feels like when you're jigging vertically and catching flounder. It feels like you hook bottom. And your brain goes, oh my God, I hooked bottom. And your brain better follow up really fast with, that's not bottom, that's a flounder. Wham! Okay, because that's exactly what it's going to feel like. And you want to immediately set that hook. If you're casting and retrieving, I'm going to say it feels pretty much like any other fish hit. When you're when you're in the shallows and 1, 2, 3 feet of water, and you're casting out away from the boat and bouncing it along, you kind of feel the bottom. And although sometimes you're waiting for it to bottom, you come up and it just kind of stuck. That's a flounder. All right, we got any other questions, Chris? What do we got here? JP, when trolling umbrellas with inline weights, how far ahead of the umbrellas do you put the weights? That's an interesting question. That's an interesting question. And I've seen people do it right on the umbrella, like literally put a clip on the weight, put a clip on the other side, put a clip on the umbrella, direct. And I've seen guys do 20 feet and then a cigar sinker. And gosh, man, I wish I could tell you which was better, but I honestly don't know. I am not a big-time troller. I was years ago. I did it a lot, and I still get on some boats and do it a couple times every year, but I tend to try and do the light tackle thing more often, and I'm scared to say which one is better. I do know I've seen it both ways for sure. But I'm going to defer to a trolling expert. I wish we had Jeff Sykes on here. Is Jeff on here today? Because that guy is a really good troller. And I'll tell you what, I'm gonna get a hold of him, and I'm gonna get an answer for you. And if we don't get him chiming in here, I will get an answer for you and put it on the Facebook post. After the video, we can still put stuff up.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna ask around. Well, give me some time on that one. I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. And again, I'm not like a total expert on that gritty of detail on trophy trolling. So I want to find out for you.
All right. Hey, Lenny, we got a comment from Warren, and he's got a little typo in here, but he says he's got 3 to 5 bunker in each. Just wonder if you might want to comment on something like that.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad the bellies weren't full of roe. That's great. We should point out that, of course, the trophy fishery is taking, spawning size fish. A lot of people get downright upset that there's even a season for it. Now, truth be told, Maryland's take on the spawning size fish is actually very small. I forget the exact percentage. It's like, I don't know, 7, 8, 10%. I don't think it's over 10%. The northern states take a lot more of the bigger fish. And God forbid, I'm certainly not going to tell anybody they shouldn't be catching these fish as long as it's legal. Personally, what I like to do is I limit myself to 1 trophy per year. Personally, I'm fine with that. But, if someone's on my boat and they've never caught a 40-inch fish and they catch a 40-inch fish, I'm not going to tell them they can't. Now, I have been hearing a lot of my fish are spawned, which makes sense, right? Because we had a late start to the season this year. It's good that they're feeding. You should see that. You should. Historically, that's a good sign they're feeding. Doesn't mean they're going to stick around. They're still on their way out of town. It's kind of surprising to me that I haven't talked to anybody who's caught one on bait, because normally I'll fish light tackle bait for trophies through the season, starting opening day, which would have been weeks ago, and you do catch them on bunker. They like the bunker. It's kind of weird, but that's interesting.
You got another question from Walt.
What colors do you prefer on your fluke killer rigs? Okay, so interesting question, because like with rockfish, I'm always like white chartreuse, white chartreuse. If it ain't white, it ain't right. If it ain't chartreuse, it ain't no use, right? And when it's really, really dark out, go to purple. Flounder aren't like that. I find flounder all over the place. Chartreuse, white, yellow, pink, lime green, purple. Actually, if you got on my boat right now and I got a bag with fluke killers lined up in it. If you opened it up right now, you'd see a very, very wide selection. I'm pretty much always going to start with chartreuse, white, pink. Those are kind of my top tiers. But they'll quickly be changed out if we're not getting bit. And, often, personally, I like to jig them. But often I'll have people on the boat who you gotta have a feel for it to jig them, and I have a lot of beginners on the boat, and I'll usually put them on a fluke killer, and I'll try and vary those colors. And if people aren't catching fish pretty quickly, I'll start swapping them out, start rotating them. That's one that takes a little work. You gotta really constantly change what you're trying there. Interestingly, when I'm jigging, I really like white. I think more than anything else, white and chartreuse. and I'll go to pink, but I don't tend to use the yellows and the darker greens. But you got a lot of choices with the fluke killers. I want to add something else too. Sometimes the spin and glow types are highly productive. I don't know why, but there are days when they do better than the hair skirts. And hopefully you know what I'm talking about. If not, if you Google it, you'll find it. It's basically like a little propeller blade on a float. And instead of the spinning blade, you get the propeller. Some of them have skirts behind them, some of them don't. But those can also be highly effective.
Awesome. So that was really the last question we had. So I don't know if you guys have anything else, please just throw it in there. I know there's sometimes a slight delay between when you type something in and when we actually get to see it. But Lenny, the weather looks pretty iffy. It's pretty cold out there right now. It's been a strange spring.
Listen to the sailor guy.
I know, right?
Oh.
There's no such thing as bad weather. Only bad.
We anglers don't care. We don't care if it's cold. We don't care if it's raining. The wind. That's where it stops for us and starts for the sailors. How weird is that?
And then we complain there's too much wind.
I tell you what, the weather up until now, it really has kind of stalled. That might be why these fish are hanging around so long. Mm-hmm. This has been a better early May than I think probably in recent memory, certainly the last 3-4 years. Mm-hmm. Maybe part of that also is because there aren't 8,000 million boats trolling around everywhere. I was out opening day and catching my catfish, mm-hmm. and it was, I would say, 10% of what I would normally expect to see, boat-wise on an opening day.
Yeah.
And there is no question that, when you get lots and lots of boats rolling around, it has an effect on the fishing. So it may be that, rockfish are just so darn popular, we might have been scaring them as much as anything else with all those boats on those popular sunny opening days in the past. I can't say that for sure. I don't know that. Sure. I'm just surmising here. I try never to do that when I'm talking fishing. I try not to just
don't make stuff up. Stick to the facts.
Yeah. But yeah, Saturday does look very tough, if not undoable. I believe there actually may be a gale warning up.
I heard snowflakes Saturday, which was crazy. But
what's that?
I heard snowflakes for Saturday.
Yeah.
Nutty. Anyway.
But Sunday looks like it'll probably be doable. I think Sunday will probably be okay. And hey, you know what? For a lot of us right now, it's really not all that imperative because we can just, take our camera on our computer and do one of these and then go fishing and then come home and check all the emails on the phone while we're fishing and then come home and be like, oh yeah, I was working from the kitchen on my phone.
Who would do
this? Right?
Who would do that, Lenny? Come on.
I can't imagine.
We got another question from JP. Recommendation on light artificial bait tackle.
So I know I got one behind me here. Hold on one second. Show you exactly what I use. Whoop. Okay. So what you got here? Oh boy, try not to knock stuff down in my office. What you got here is your 9-aught circle hook. Okay. That's about as small as you want to go. Do not use a 6-aught. You will end up gut hooking fish. That is on a 30-pound fluoroleader, which goes to a loop that I put in there with a Palomar knot. Then we've got a swivel on the main line and an egg sinker hanging on there. You can also use a fish finder rig. That works just fine. As long as you got something that allows you to let the fish take line without feeling all the weight, without feeling you. And the way I like to fish that rig is I'll take a bunker chunk, I'll put it on there, I'll let it down to the bottom, and of course you got to have the gut hunk on there too. The gut hunk, the bunker chunk, put it down on bottom, put on the bait runner, or if you don't have one, use a ghost drag clip it on your rod, and then it holds the line right there until a fish takes it, and just leave it sit. That's it. Leave it sit. This is not something you want to give action to. Just let it sit there on the bottom. And you know, like I said, thus far this season, what's happened is you catch catfish, and it's been pretty good catfishing. I mean, hard to complain about. There's actually been quite a bit of action. Mouth of the Magathie, Pedickery Point has been producing a lot of really good cats. Guys are counting 6-8 fish days, and they're good big catfish. And most important thing, of course, circle hook, don't set the hook. We did talk about doing the combined rockfish bait chumming thing in a previous Live with Lenny. If you go to our YouTube channel, or I think on Facebook too, and just look at our videos, you'll see it on there, combined rockfish and catfish chumming. And we can give you a little more detail about the different rigs and the tackle and whatnot. That's a 17-pound rig. I like mono line for that, with a Shimano bait runner on a St. Croix rod with Fuji guides.
Cool. Our good friend Bob's got a question real quick.
Hey, Bob. What's happening, man? Any good place for flounder, Chesapeake Beach and North? Time will tell. Time will tell. Thomas Point used to be a great place for flounder. Running across the bay to Gum Thickets used to be great for flounder. Parts of Eastern Bay used to be great for flounder. Haven't in years. There have been a lot of little flounder, like, up to 10, 12 inches, particularly in the chop tank, tons and tons of little flounder, but we haven't seen really big ones in some years coming up this far. So, oh, look, and there goes the landline that we don't like to go off doing this. Sorry about that.
First-time caller, a long-time listener. Awesome. Well, we're kind of running out of time, too. Lenny, is there anything you want to kind of close up with, or if you see any questions here that I might have missed?
Yeah, well, no, I'm going to go back. Kevin answers in here, and he knows what he's doing. He's a good troller. And, okay. So both approaches were, so he's I guess basically saying about what I said. I'll check around and try and get some more, but Kevin knows what he's doing. I think, yeah, we had one of the pictures of one of his fish.
There you go.
He was the first picture we showed, so there you go.
I think much better than that. All right. Let me get, it looks like a lot of people are kind of chiming in the comments and helping us out with answering some questions. So
good.
That's nice. Outside of that, let's see, we've kind of gone past our time. We've actually kind of hit it right on the notch. But if anybody doesn't have any other questions, I think we should probably close this up so we can get everybody getting ready for tomorrow.
Yeah, I gotta get some coffee in me, have some caffeine, and right. Start getting stuff.
Yeah, it's coffee. Cool. Awesome. Lenny, thanks, man.
My pleasure. And everybody, don't forget, if anything strikes you after the fact, or if you happen to watch this on Facebook a week from now and you have a question, plug it in.
Yeah.
We'll get an alert. We'll find the answer.
Yeah, absolutely, folks. Please do that. And if you enjoy, Lenny's these talks with Lenny as much as I do, and I don't ever get fishing as much as I probably should. If you think this is helpful information, please do us a favor. Tell a friend. Say, hey, you got to check out Live with Lenny's, Thursdays at 5 o'clock. And we're playing around with the time slot and stuff, but I think it's going to be here at least for the short term. As things change, as we all maybe will be returning to out of our home offices and going out, we might have to change up the time. But hey, whatever happens, we'll still be trying to do something like this. So either make sure you stay tuned and watch us for Live with Lenny, or at the very least sign up for the for the weekly Friday email of our fishing reports. Check that out. And we're trying to make all of these things as interactive as possible. We really want, and we're dedicated to making sure you guys catch more and bigger fish, and that's what we're trying to do.
That's what it's about.
That's all it's about. So thanks for tuning in today, and good luck out there this weekend. I know the weather's going to be a little bit crappy, but hopefully you might still get out there and catch more and bigger fish. Thanks, Lenny.
See you, folks.
All right. Bye-bye.
Don't miss another cool Fish Talk video. Click below to subscribe.